This is Sports 225 with Lee Feinswag. Sports 225 with Lee Feinswag is Baton Rouge's longest running and best television show. Who would have believed that?
My best friend, Lee Feinswag, look at the Christmas.
Sports 225 is brought to you by Breck. Remember, it all starts at Breck. Now, your host, Lee Feinswag.
Well, as we start this Sports 225, it's the last show of our 2017-2018 season because we started in September way back when. I'll tell you how far back when in a second. So I've always just equated it with the school year and then kind of, knock off for a little bit of May, all of June and July, come back in August when football season starts. And that will be the case tonight as we end our 23rd season. How's that for a number, Ron Higgins?
Pete Maravish's jersey number.
There you go. If you had ever told me when I started this thing, and the first show was September 25th, 1995, that we would do this for 23 years, I mean, I was worried about getting through the first 9 weeks. That was the original contract, and I only lost money each of those 9 weeks.
All those nights you spent living in your car were worth it, wasn't it?
No, I worked at the Advocate then. I could live anywhere I wanted.
Oh, yeah.
Where were you in September of 1995?
September 1995, I was in Memphis. I was still in Memphis. I hadn't moved to Mobile yet for a year and a half. My year and a half beach sabbatical, as I call it. But yeah, I was in Memphis in '95. Year before I went to the Atlantic Olympics. Yeah.
Wow. Ron Higgins grew up in Baton Rouge. His late father was the sports information director at LSU a million years ago. He worked at the Baton Rouge then Morning Advocate, and when he left to take a job in Memphis in 1984, guess who replaced him? Isn't that an amazing bit of karma?
That's why I'm on this show a lot, because somewhere deep down he feels he owes his career to me, which I don't know why. I have no clue.
Yes, 1984. Yeah, and I said, I'll come to Baton Rouge and stick around for a year or two. And here I am. Anyway, Ron is a columnist and sports writer for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune, lives in Baton Rouge, came back to Baton Rouge after all that time in Memphis with that hiatus in Mobile. You've been back now, you pushing 4 years?
Five or 6 years, yeah. Wow. I haven't counted. It just they all kind of meld together.
Yeah. So the topic of the week, and I want to start with, is gambling in sports. It's very intriguing what the Supreme Court did the other day. What were your initial thoughts, and now that you've had maybe a little bit of time to digest it?
All the money that's spent on gambling, they finally caved in. They kind of said, you know what? Maybe some of this can help our states somehow. These states pass these laws. Mm-hmm. Maybe this is a way for us to get revenue from people who gamble, and it's just something we can no longer deny. It's like alcohol; you can't no longer deny it. So let's just go with it, and try to regulate it the best we can.
Prohibition ended like 90 years ago, just in case you were...
I know, but not to... I mean, they still haven't legalized marijuana yet in a lot of places.
Right.
And I went to Vegas a couple of weeks ago. They have,
dispensaries?
All over the place, yeah.
Yeah.
All over the place. So, to me, this is a logical step. The amount of gambling that's done on sports, especially, you see something like DraftKings.com, something like that. It's like the average person almost would want to go place a bet if it was easy. Unfortunately, I'm not an average person. I don't hardly bet on anything. I don't think I've ever bet on anything, really. I guess because I know how screwy stuff is.
Yeah.
But
I'm not a gambler either.
Yeah.
I don't even like, hey, I'll bet you a quarter to do this or that, or a beer. But as far as placing bets on sports, I know among many of you watching who are hardcore sports fans, you bet, especially on the NFL.
Yeah, now I've seen I know writers who bet on games, which I don't think that's agree with. I remember one case. This is a funny story. LSU's playing Alabama, and Alabama's losing, but there's an Alabama writer who bet on LSU, and this Alabama field kicker's got to kick a field goal to, like, I don't know if it's going to win the game, but it's going to win the spread in the closing seconds. So the guy misses it, and the riders on the sideline jumping up and down going, yeah, because he won. He won his bet. But I think the most I've ever done was like a barbershop board on Super Bowl, pick numbers, that's about it. I mean, but I understand there's some people, it's their living. I have a friend whose son-in-law is a professional gambler, and he's really good at it. I've been on shows with guys who basically run tout services, and I get that. It's an industry, so why not have benefit other services? Maybe you'll have better schools for it. Maybe you can pay teachers more. Whatever. So I'm for it.
That part I'm worried about and kind of skeptical because of the idea that when we put in the lottery, we talked about how much it was going to benefit education. Like, for example, in the state of Louisiana, I'm not sure that that's always been the case. But I see your point. But I do have a more deep-rooted question, as much as that may astound you, because you've been on this show before.
I'm stunned.
I want to talk more about gambling. He's Ron Higgins. You can read his stuff at NOLA.com. Follow him on Twitter at RonHig. And he's a frequent guest and the only guest who's appropriate for the last show of this season. We'll take this break and we'll come back to Sports 225. I'm Lee Feinswag. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm the human dislike button. You may recognize me as the guy who enforces rules at Breck Parks. Check out my amazing presentation. Did you know? Motorized vehicles are not allowed in Breck Parks. Sales and solicitation are prohibited without permission from Breck. And my favorite rule, keep Breck Parks clean by placing all trash in trash cans. Come on, you can do this. For more information about these and other Breck rules, please visit breck.org/HDB.
We're back on Sports 225, hanging out with Ron Higgins from NOLA.com. We were talking about gambling and the Supreme Court's decision earlier this week to allow states to have sports gambling. And I think on the short term, the one thing that jumped out at me is the possibility for game fixing, corruption, bad things for NCAA sports. In the pros, I'm not sure how it affects all that. But there's so much interaction between the community and college athletes in all sports. It's not like they're insulated like pro athletes. And I don't know if that crossed your mind yet.
Yeah, I mean, college players are more susceptible to that because they don't get paid. Most of them don't get paid. Most of them don't get paid money.
Right.
And they could be approached by that, and it could happen. I mean, God knows, way back, what was it, the 70s, and John Hot Rod Williams and Tulane basketball, and poor Ned Fowler got caught in the middle of all this stuff, and Tulane students fix games. There was an accusation that even the University of Memphis, fixed games, but they could never prove that. Yeah, that could definitely happen.
I think back to one time I was at a casino here in Baton Rouge. It was a long time ago. And I was playing craps, and I was next to a couple of LSU football players. And they were old enough to be playing. And, it was $5 chips, I'm sure, because I usually don't play craps unless it's $5 chips. Anyhow, a well-known LSU booster fan was on the other side of him. So I was here. There were two LSU football players, and there was the guy right here. And whenever they crapped out and they needed money to start their next bet, he put down their chips, which was certainly within his right. He put down, say, 2 chips for each guy on the pass line, and there you went. And so they were able to capitalize from there. Now, I certainly looked at it and went, this has all the earmarkings of trouble for LSU, for these two young men, and for the NCAA. And they were so worried at the time about gambling in sports, with casinos everywhere. And that wasn't sports betting. And I'll tell you who that was later when we're in commercial. But
okay. Yeah, it's clearly an NCAA violation. I mean that's unless that.
I wonder if it is, if that was an NCAA violation.
Unless that booster, NCAA will that booster place bets for every student? Will every student have the opportunity to place bets?
Yeah.
Well, no. Okay, that's a violation. Yeah, I mean, it's a concern that, you know.
But will they throw games? Every time we see a guy drop a pass, pull a hammy, miss a three-pointer where he's wide open or a bunny, you know, are we going to say, oh, he's on the take? And we might say that anyway.
I've seen some stuff in games that I thought that, you know, I mean, I can, it wasn't, I can give you an example. Tennessee's playing Arkansas in 1997 or 98. Arkansas has this game won. Tennessee hasn't lost a game yet. Clint Stoner, their quarterback, there's like 5 minutes left. He just takes a snap, falls backwards, stumbles, and puts the ball in the ground and fumbles. It's like, what? I mean, it's like, how did it even happen? And Tennessee goes in and scores and saves their season. They win the national championship. It's like, he had to be on the take, but he what? You went back, but you initially thought that, but we looked back and looked at the film. He stumbled over a guy, his lineman, and put the ball down. But stuff happens when you, like you said, you go, But, you know, it's like the movie Blue Chips. Tony.
Blue Chips, Nick Nolte, Shaquille O'Neal, and a cast of thousands.
And the guy that Nick Nolte recruited before, he cheated all the other players, Tony.
Right.
You know, he's out there missing, you know, the booster says, I owe you, coach. And one of your players threw games. You back and look at it, it's this guy. You know, he's just a coach, I just needed the money. So, yeah, it can happen. I mean, it's like, you know, movie scripts coming to real life. Yeah, it can happen.
Yeah. Well, enough about that. But I didn't tell, you know, Ron will tell you, if you've watched the show, you know, we don't rehearse. We don't think about it ahead of time. But that's what's just been on my mind, you know, all day. And I said, yeah, ask my guy.
Well, you put all your chips on the table.
The odds were in my favor.
The odds were in your
we
favor.
We can just go on all day.
What few chips you have?
Oh, I've cashed them all in for this show.
Yeah.
What have you written lately that matters?
Well, you know, a story I did a while back on a kid named Joe Estee, a kid from Tennessee Martin, who's also went to Bonneville High School, who ended up going to Tennessee, ended up going through a junior college at Tennessee Martin, and basically, while he was at Tennessee Martin, took in his nephews as his sons and as raising them, and then saved his homeless mother, who was living in a car outside a casino. He got a tryout with the Titans last weekend and made it. So now he's signed a rookie contract, going to rookie camp. That's a good story I liked. I've written about LSU baseball.
I did like the story too, and I didn't tell him I was going to toss the softball for that one. So I'm glad you went deep.
Yeah, and so I mean I kind of follow up on it. And the kid, I mean I hope he makes it. He's a the type of kid that if he doesn't make it, he's going to be fine. He understands. He's got a really good perspective.
You before you mentioned LSU baseball, but how about Karl Malone's son?
Karl Malone
gets into camp and then says, "No, I can't do this," and admirably walks away.
I kind of figured that was going to happen.
Yeah,
I mean, he had a bunch of injuries. He did well just to get to a camp, and I think he realized, and that's some guys, but that's a smart decision. Some guys realize, okay, it's not going to happen for me. I know this. You know, I know what I want to do in my career. He wants to go in law enforcement, and he'll do well in law enforcement. He's a good kid. LSU baseball teetering on the edge, fighting injuries, trying to get any kind of rhythm. Been writing about them, and of course, the possible LSU transfer quarterback, Joe Burrow. The LSU nation turns its lonely eyes towards you.
We got this close to a break to not have to mention the LSU quarterback. There's some phrase I'm thinking of where that just pops up in every conversation we do about sports. Anyway, hold that thought. Let me take this break because I'm still thinking about those bad puns we made about gambling.
I'm not transferring before the next break.
Thank you very much. He's Ron Higgins. You can read his stuff at NOLA.com and follow him at Ron Hig on Twitter. I'm Lee Feinswag. You can follow me at Lee Feinswag, where you won't learn very much, but you know, every once in a while I put something up that's amusing. This is Sports 225.
Hi, I'm the human dislike button. You may recognize me as the rules guy for Breck Parks. Sometimes the rules slip past us, so I put together this amazing presentation. Did you know? Golf practice is only allowed at designated golf facilities. Firearms, explosives, and weapons are not allowed on Breck property. Metal detecting is allowed in some parks, but go to Breck's website to learn more about this and other park rules. For more information, visit breck.org/HDB.
We're back on Sports 225. I'm Lee Feinswag, hanging out with Ron Higgins from NOLA.com. One of the cool things about the end of the school year, besides that we go off the air for the best of all summer long, is that at the end of this month, May, early June, the SEC has its annual conference meetings in Destin, Florida. A really tough assignment that you force yourself to do.
Yeah, but if you do it right, you never see the beach.
That part's true, because it's just a constant coach troll. You just hang out there and just
Exactly.
fish in a barrel.
Exactly.
So you have access at that point to almost every coach in every sport, but most significantly the football and basketball coaches.
Basketball.
Not the baseball, of course.
No, football, basketball, and women's basketball,
Yeah.
and athletic directors, and faculty reps, and presidents.
Yep. I saw Mark Emmert the other day, by the way, the head of the NCAA. He was in Baton Rouge for Skip Burtman's 80th birthday party.
Wow.
So we had Skip on the show last week. Great visit. And then
How'd you in 30 minutes, how'd you get all in with Skip?
I couldn't.
That's like one answer, maybe two.
Yeah. But then last Thursday night, Mark Emmert and his wife, Delane, were in for this big bash and got to visit with him. We didn't talk shop at all. That was just kind of a random thought, just dropping some names. Anyhow, so you have all these football coaches there, and you'll get to talk to any one of them if you want to. What are some questions that you personally have for some of these coaches?
Well, a lot of them is about, is college football about to turn to free agency?
Because of the transfer
Or
rule?
transfer rule. And because, not just because of the graduate transfer rule, because they're talking about other stuff, which is, a guy's free to transfer without sitting out, or a guy can transfer but gets if he graduates, he gets the year back late at the end of his career. So there's a lot of topics on the table like that. I mean, I'm interested in that. I'm also interested in just because there's a bunch of new coaches in the league, football-wise. And this league has changed dramatically in its football and basketball coaches, and even its ADs in the past 4 or 5 years. The league is kind of like being in a remake. And I mean, you look at all the new coaches in football they have coming up this year, like I guess 5. So
is it really 5
okay,
coaches?
let's see. There's Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
There's Mississippi State. There's Tennessee. There's Texas A&M. That's 4. Mullen went from state to Florida. That's 5 in a sense. That's 5 right there. So that's
More than a third of the league.
yeah. So that's a nice chunk of
Yeah, and you combine that with still early in the term of the new commissioner, Greg Sankey.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And you said about the basketball coaches. I don't know if I've seen you since the NCAA tournament when they got I think it was 8 teams in, and then subsequently didn't do all that well. But nonetheless, in basketball, good upgrade and
they
significant step forward for the league.
Yeah, they I think the past few years they've gotten better coaches, and better coaches usually result in better teams, and they've played a little bit better schedules, and it all kind of worked in, and it kind of went the way in the tournament I thought would go with the SEC.
But anyway, so back to football. The transfer rule is interesting. I personally welcome the free agency thing. I want to see chaos and see if kids are smart enough to band together and say, hey, well, let's all go here. Let's do this, let's do that. But I don't know that will happen. But do you think it would create a bad situation, or is it worth seeing what happens before you pass judgment?
I think it's worth seeing what happens before we pass judgment. I mean, I understand it's a two-way street. I understand kids have an obligation, when they sign a scholarship. But if they feel like they're not getting a fair shot to play, let's face it, don't give me this stuff. This is where I want to, they come up on their announcement days, this is where I want to pursue my education. Oh, crap. You want to go there and play football. Okay, you can pursue your education. Yeah, right. Some of them actually do, but most of them don't. So most of the guys who hold the press conferences aren't there to pursue the education. They're to announce to the NFL, hey, I'm going to college, so watch me. So, but also understand the coach's standpoint, they feel like the kids should be obligated. But there's this too. As far as I remember, this is a free country. Can a kid have to get permission from a coach to transfer within a conference? Did Dan Mullen get permission to get signed from Florida State? Did way back when DiNardo from LSU to Vanderbilt from LSU? None of these coaches get permission to move within the league. So while these coaches have their thumb on these kids, if they want to transfer within the league or somewhere.
So you're in favor of?
I'm in favor of. Well, at least try it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't know. In football, it'll be more impactful in other sports because of the numbers. All right, we got time for one last segment. Hold that thought.
Okay.
He's Ron Higgins. You can follow him at NOLA.com and at Ron Hig on Twitter. You should read his stuff because he's not just because he's sitting there. His stuff's really good. I'm Lee Feinswag in Sports 225.
Well. Looks like someone forgot all neighborhood Breck Parks close at dark.
You want another?
I think they'll pass. Amplified music and sound is prohibited without permission from Breck. No alcoholic beverages on Breck property. Smoking of tobacco products is not allowed. Use of fire is prohibited except in grills. Gotta remember, Breck wants you to have fun, but in the right way. For more info, go to breck.org/HDB.
Coming down the home stretch of not only this show, but the 2017-18 season, we got all new showtimes on Cox 4 and YourView, but the first airing is on CST at 7 a.m. Friday. So if you go to sports225.com, we've got them all listed there. Thanks to John Williams for coming in every week and directing the show. Go to his website, ThinkJCW, for all sorts of your needs and good stuff. And thanks always to the guys here at Cox, like Eric Coleman and Nils Breckoff, for all the support they give us. And thanks always to Ron Higgins from NOLA.com for being always a go-to guest and keeping me entertained. I figure if you're keeping me entertained, you're keeping them entertained. What you got going this summer? Any fun stuff?
Probably a lot of golf to see if I can actually improve my golf swing.
What do you shoot?
Normally, I'd say high 80s.
Well, that's really good.
I play with my son Jack, and he's a laid back. So Jack has the best attitude ever about golf. He goes, dude, everything's dude. Dude, it's like, when I get on the green, like in 3, all I'm thinking about. Now, if I get on the green in 2, I'm not thinking about birdie, dude. I'm just thinking about maybe I can get a bogey, and that takes all the pressure off me, dude. so I've kind of tried. You gotta get the Jack philosophy.
Yeah.
Just
bogey.
Yeah, just bogey.
Yeah.
So if I lower my expectations as much as possible, I'll probably play pretty well.
All right, leave me with this. You're the czar of NCAA sports. In 15 seconds or less, you could make one change going into the 2018-19 school year. What would it be?
I would convince the NBA to make guys out of high school eligible to go straight to the NBA.
That would be a good start, wouldn't it? It might improve the product that we're struggling to watch.
Yes, I think they can do that, and let's work from there.
As always, thank you for your many appearances on the show this calendar year. I love it. And you go to sports225.com for archived shows and to see old shows with Ron and all of our old guests. You have a great summer.
I will.
All
have
right.
a great summer. And you too.
Thank you. We'll see all of you back here live in August. In the meantime, it's the best of all summer long on Sports 225. Thanks for watching. Good night.
At carnival time by Baton Rouge Bay, that's the site of my story. At Spanish Town Mardi Gras, things can get blurry. See the mowers marching